All right, you all, obviously this is going to be the skills identification webinar out of the Swift webinar series. I'm the host for today, Shamir Brown. Um, the series is part of a four-part series that what we hope to do for those of you who participate is to kind of give you all some good takeaways with respect to um, better establishing your professional presence, getting you ready to take advantage of opportunities in the career field you're trying to be a part of, and help you all with like editing, updating, or simply creating resumes so that you have what you need to actually apply for jobs, and then also to be able to search for jobs when that time comes. It may be here already, so whatever stage you're at, we hope you can get something from at least one of these series. Um, that will be very useful to you going forward. And the webinars, while they are presentations, so to speak, and sort of interactive, there's also the ability to contact me at any point in time regarding anything that you might see in any of the webinars, and I'll be more than willing to try and assist you in these areas. All right. All right. So obviously we're handling the strength and skills identification webinar today. Um, I quickly spoke about some of the four. We got job search strategies coming up in the next webinar a week from now. That'll be handled by Brennan Hightower, who's the silent guest in today's webinar meet, followed by resume writing and development, and then interview readiness. Today's webinar probably connects most with resume writing and development because with strength and skills identification, it sets you up to better put your strength and skills down on paper in a more professional manner, which is a lot of what you'll be doing when it's time to construct resumes. But in order to construct a resume, you can have your layout fine. You can understand what sections should be there, what type of wording you may or may not want to use. But if you don't understand strength and skills and how to word them properly, then constructing a resume is sort of difficult. So these two sort of tie in together more so than the others do. All right. The purpose of today's webinar is to understand strength and skills. Um, the words are
It's
straightforward. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Those dates you just showed, you're going to email those dates, right?
Um, they are on the form, the sign-up
Okay.
form, but um, I'd be more than happy to. I'll just let me make a note of that in case someone else is thinking along the same lines. I'll definitely send a reminder. Each one will have a reminder that goes out to of its own. So you should
Okay.
be seeing a reminder for the other webinar coming in a week, either today, tomorrow. Sounds about right. Um, but I'll make sure to send them out myself or to remind the hosts. Just a moment. This student is. Okay. All right. The purpose is to understand strength and skills. Strength and skills, they're straightforward words, but when it's time to actually take those definitions of those two words and kind of know what that means when we're putting it into writing on paper, it gets a little bit different. And sometimes we can find ourselves struggling to try to uh, tell an employer who may be reading our resume what it is we do best. So understanding them is going to be a very big key in this webinar. Um, transitioning to the idea of competencies, which is sort of like when you combine hard skills and soft skills, it's better sometimes to list them as competencies because they have a more technical feel to them when they're read on paper. We're going to be taking a look at that. We're going to have some practice exercises where we list skills, um, construct some competencies, put together a job description and sort of reword it from the way we originally might state it, and then kind of look at a better way that we could word it on paper. And then we're going to develop a little bit of better understanding of how all of this applies and take a look at some helpful resources that may be of use to you. I think the student says that she is in. I want to be sure. I am sorry about this with respect to you all's time. I do not want to slow things down. So if she says she's in, I'm going to hope that she finds her way. All right. All right. In terms of strengths is probably the smaller piece of the strengths and skills webinar today. Um, the whole purpose of it is all of us are, kind of looking to make some sort of career change. Not sure what happened there. All right. With respect to strengths, all of us are sort of making a career change here or trying to find a new career altogether. And we just want to take a look at where it is that we are strong. Trying to get into areas of work where we're not quite strong, it's quite difficult. And in a lot of instances, it simply doesn't make any sense. And if you are going to try to pursue something where you have a lot of weaknesses, you're going to have to try and get strong first. But the focus to that is trying to make sure we identify exactly what we do well. That's how we identify our strengths. Um, it's sometimes something we just kind of sit down with ourselves and kind of think about, what is it that I do well in the workplace? What kind of skills do I have where I feel confident about my ability to perform without a lot of additional training, or where I feel I could be strong quite easily within a week's worth of training? All those are your areas of strengths. That's kind of what we want to focus on when we're putting together our skill sets and learning how to list them on paper. We want to know what we do well, because that best determines the area of focus that we should be eyeballing in terms of career opportunities. So what is a skill? A skill is just the ability to carry out a task, usually within a set amount of time. Um, there are different types of skills, but in essence, that's the basic breakdown of a skill. We all have different skills. Some of us are excellent writers. Some of us are very good at communication, some good at organization. Um, some of us can type really well. All these are skills, and they break down into different categories. The two primary categories, though you may find a lot of skills listed, if you take a look on the internet, or if you just aware of different skills that are available to you. There's soft skills and hard skills are the two primary categories, though. Soft skills are things like, I'm good at communication, good with customer service, I'm a fast learner, things of that nature. Hard worker, those are soft skills, but still important. Hard skills are more on your technical side, where they're like skills that are required to do a specific job, like transaction processing, which would be like if you know how to run a cash register, know how to handle like the credit card processing systems really well within even a grocery store or a hardware store or any sort of business, period. If you know how to handle that transaction processing system, which some people generically reference as the cash register, that skill you have is transaction processing. So when we're taking a look at skills, we have soft skills and hard skills, but your hard skills are more geared towards things that are very smart, very specific in nature. They include things like data entry, um, stocking in a store. If a person was a stocker in a store, Chappelle, what program are you in? You can feel free to speak.
Are you talking about for Parkland?
Yes,
The Swift?
yes.
That's the program in.
Which one? Which program?
The Swift?
No, not the specific concentration within.
Oh, you talking about medical billing and coding?
Okay, so within medical billing and coding, data entry would be a good hard skill that you would have to have because you'd be using the computer quite often and entering in data. So that would be an example of a hard skill. In a soft skill in your lane would be uh, customer service, like so, because you might have to deal with people who show up and um, into the hospital area and may need to record information that they have to give to you. So that would be an example of soft and hard skills. I just wanted to, since you all are not too many of you all in here, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak here. Um, so that's the difference between soft and hard skills. Um, another skills category would be transferable skills. Transferable skills are those that can be applied to like almost any industry or working environment. So a good example would be transaction processing, which I mentioned earlier. Almost every business has cash register or a way that customers have to pay for things or apply for credit, etc. Those kind of skills are transferable because they can apply to like they apply in a hospital. They would apply if you worked at the local cable company. Um, they would apply if you went to buy paint from the hardware store, for example. Those are your transferable skills. Just means that and they can be both hard and soft. Transferable skills are not different from soft and hard skills. They are just a different category, meaning this specific kind of skill is one that you would see in a lot of lanes or in a lot of industries, so that if you possess this skill, it didn't matter if you were changing careers, the other industry that you're moving towards could see the value in that skill. Um, I want to take a look at some transferable skills here before I have you all do an activity. And please let me know if you are able to see the screen properly.
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
And I'll post these links in the chat while you all are doing the activity here shortly. But this is just a decent website where you can go, and there's others. So don't feel confined to this one if you ever want to take a look at what a transferable skill is. Um,
So, a question for you:
absolutely.
will it be a good idea to take a data entry class?
Um, if you're going to work in an office environment, absolutely.
But
It's
even
gonna
if I know an office environment, but even then, when I get to that point where to work from home, that would still be a good class to take.
certainly most of your work from home activities are going to involve a heavy dose of data entry of sorts. The tasks might be different depending on what your job is and what they have you doing, but for certain, you're going to have to do some sort of uh, recording of data electronically. So that's going to be one of the primary things you want to be very good at doing.
Okay, that'd be my next step after this.
Okay. All right. So everyone needs transferable skills, and I'm just giving you all a glimpse of what this site looks like. It breaks down what transferable skills are, why you might want to include them on a resume, who needs them, incorporating them into your resume. It's a very good site. Then it gives several examples of of different types of transferable skills. And I'll just leave you all with that resource in the chat so you can access it later. I'll probably email the links to you all as well, just so you all have them. Um, but what we're going to move towards now, we're going to take about 5 minutes. If you all could access like a pen and paper or a pencil and paper, and kind of, I'd like for you all to list about 4 to 5 soft skills you have, 4 to 5 hard skills you have, and then at least 3 transferable skills that you feel that you have or that you might like to have. And then we'll resume. Time-wise, we have here about 4:33, so we'll shoot for 4:38, and we'll kind of resume from there. Pinpoint you, Chappelle, in terms
Of course, I don't have the 5 that you got, but I got some.
Okay. All right. Well, when we're
I
taking
mean,
a
because
what
didn't
you,
you say like a good organizer would be under your soft skills,
yes.
and then communication skills
Okay.
I have pretty well, and then under the hard, I have put like some basic computer skills,
Okay.
and I think you said cashiering, right?
Yeah, that we're gonna say.
Well, with the generic name, as you said.
Well, it's a hard skill. So
Yeah,
transaction processing.
yeah. I mean, I can't. I don't. That's about all I got for you. Because
When you
as
say
growing up, basically, that's what I did. Was like cashier, right? Working at McDonald's
uh-huh.
or working like at Myers, like stocking on the floor in the back, and like volunteering in my kids daycare.
All right, she is regaining entry. When you say
Okay,
computer skills, what
just know how to operate, do the basic stuff on the computer, like.
so give me an example. We want to be detailed. That's how we get away from the idea of being very generic. Because if we were to
Okay.
say on a resume, we are I have computer skills, someone may say, well, what does that mean? Do you know how
Yeah.
to hook up modems and routers for internet connectivity, or are you
Oh,
good with
okay.
data entry? So they don't. You're leaving them to try and guess. In which case,
Okay.
if they're looking for something specific, they're not going to guess. They're simply just going to look for the person who has been able to clearly define the skill that they have. So if you're thinking of a computer skill you have, tell me what you think that might be.
Um, basically, you know how to like browse through the internet when needed, like Google stuff, things, and still learning how to work through the computer on certain things.
Okay.
Like nothing extravagant.
Okay.
It's
Uh,
just simple, basic needs that I need to get through, like with school work. Looking for jobs, filling out applications. The basic necessities like that.
okay. Janelle, did you want to chime in with some softer, hard skills that you feel like you might have?
Sure. I don't know how well I'll do on this, but as far as soft skills, I have good communication skills. I'm very adaptable in stressful situations. I have leadership skills, and I'm very organized. What I got for that. For hard skills, um, I don't know. I mean, I have a really good typing ability. I'm versed in Microsoft Word and Linux and um, Windows processing and Excel. Can you hear me? I hear like a
I
lot of, I
can.
don't know if there's like a lot
If
of,
there's one of you who has noise in your background, you may be better off muting your microphone.
because because I'm getting a lot of static. I don't know if anybody else is, but I am.
I am too. I'm not sure which of you that it currently is, but I'm not sure that I can necessarily. I want to give you all the ability to participate interactively. I don't want this to just be me speaking one way to you, presentation style, which would allow me to just mute everyone's microphone, but I don't want to do that. I think this is better if we're able to be interactive. So, okay. Our third guest was not able to see the first part of the presentation, so I will not put her on the spot. Um, but yeah, this is a breakdown of basically how we go about listing our soft and hard skills. Some of them may be transferable, like your ability to be organized, communicate, adaptable in stressful environments. Those are all very good transferable soft skills, as well as leadership. Um, Data entry is very good. It's pretty transferable. Transaction processing for sure. Microsoft Office Suite, it's a very good hard skill. May not be useful in some environments. If you're simply not doing anything on the computer or not ever going to be required to, it's a very good skill to have, but it may not be one that floats across every industry. However, I think you all have done a pretty good job of grasping the difference between both soft and hard skills, and then remembering, if we remember back from our slide, a transferable skill is one that can be applied across several industries. But your skill set is your skill set. We just want to be able to identify our transferable skills for the purpose of making sure that when we're looking at jobs that are a little bit different than any we ever had, we understand which of our skills we do have that we can list on paper and highlight and say, hey, I think they would like to know about this. All right, so now that we have a decent feel of both soft and hard skills, we want to look at this idea of core competencies. Core competencies are more technical. I'm going to use a generic definition. They're a very technical way of describing something that you do well from a skill set standpoint, but with the focus being on your technical and hard skills. So it's kind of like a merging, as you can see from the graphic, of both the soft and hard skills, and then you come out with what are known as core competencies. An example of a core competency would be inventory management. If you don't know what inventory management is, I'll give you an example that's pretty easy to understand. If you've ever been to a store like Walmart at night and you see the people who are there reloading the shelves, kind of keeping the inventory count, unboxing things, they might think of themselves as, I'm just a stocker. But the truth is they're engaging in inventory management because they have to keep a certain amount of inventory on the shelves according to what the company wants. They have to know how much is available, what's not available, so it can be ordered. They have those little handheld devices that you might see them holding, which enable them to input that information or to look up what is available. If you were to randomly walk up to them and ask them, "Hey, do you have this item?" Sometimes you'll see them pull one out and say, "Hey, let me take a look." All that is inventory management, but the person themselves may not recognize what they're engaging in is inventory management. So if it was time to list that skill set or that core competency on paper, they would want to label that as inventory management as opposed to just saying generic terms for what they do. So what you have when you have core competencies is the combination of both soft and hard skills. A good example of creating of merging the two together would be if you were to say um, look at customer service as a soft skill and then combine it with that of blueprint reading. And blueprints are like an example of a blueprint would be if you bought a chair off of Amazon and you had to put it together, or even a small desk and it came together in parts, and you need to look at the blueprints to kind of give you an idea of, hey, part A goes with part B and part C. But if you were combining customer service with your ability to read blueprints, you could say a good core competency would be technical support, because being good with people enables you to talk to people. So you could take a phone call or a chat line inquiry from a customer and speak to them quite well in a manner that makes them feel like they're being serviced well. The person is very friendly, very nice, understands the question being asked, and is willing to assist them. And then with your ability to read blueprints, you could help them with a technical question they may have. So, for example, they may have purchased a product from the company that you are representing. So you combine your two skills to provide customer service and blueprint reading, and your core competency would be the ability to provide technical support, which on a resume you would list as technical support. And that's how you essentially would combine soft and hard skills together to come up with core competencies. Another way to combine would be combining, say, communication and word processing. Your ability to talk to people and understand the type of person you're communicating with, the language to use, etc., and your ability to type out documents within Word or any other word processor might give you the ability to have the core competencies such as technical writing. So when you combine your ability to communicate and your ability to word process, you'd have the core competency of technical writing. And that's what you would list down on a resume if you were wanting to highlight both abilities. So your ability to communicate, your ability to word process would be listed in the core competency as technical writing. And it sort of plays better so that you don't have this huge blockade of soft and hard skills just listed, where the person on the other side kind of has to figure out, hey, what do I do with that? This person has a very huge list of skills, which for one would take up a ton of space on the resume. And I'm not exactly sure how that applies to the job I want to hire them for. So, but if you have it listed in a core competency, um, then they're easily able to see, oh, okay, they must have this skill, and they can do this, and this is exactly what I'm looking for, if that makes sense to you all. And if it doesn't, please, you can ask questions now. We don't have to hold our questions because there's not too many of us. Does that make sense for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Here's a list of some core competencies. Um, this is not for just one specific industry. It's kind of across the board for the various concentrations that we have within Swift. So core competency might be tractor trailer experience, lab maintenance and preparation for people who are trying to be a part of like sterile processing and phlebotomy, technical support for those who are in the Google IT lane, home and palliative care for those who are more in the CNA realm. We may have account and payer disputes, data reporting for those who are looking to uh, be in office management or office assistant or administrative environments. You may have to do some data reporting, which you might see, which might be done via Excel or another sort of similar program that they may have you all using. You got record maintenance and inventory control. And this is just some core competencies a person may have. It's very rare that anyone would have all of these because these are some from a very wide range of different industries. But you probably have several, and because you've never thought about it before, don't realize you actually have those. And then you'll also have more as you complete your concentrations within Swift. So what I'd like for you all to do now is to think about this idea of combining soft skills and hard skills to create core competencies, and see if you all can come up with 2 to 3 apiece, um, so you can kind of see if you're getting the hang of this idea of core competencies. I'm going to give you all a few minutes to do that, but first I want you to if you want to take a look at this website. Um, Breaks down the idea of core competencies in the core competencies section on a resume. Um, Here in this area here, if you can take a look, this is kind of how you might list it. So this person has corporate account management, their ability to use digital media, um, they're a persuasive communicator. They have so they have a list here, and this list keeps them from having to essentially create a very large hard and soft skills list because it kind of encompasses it both, and it's very specific to the job that they're probably trying to obtain, so that the person on the other end immediately knows how this matches up to the job description and the role they want for that person to play if they bring them into their company. So we really want to get used to this idea of creating core competencies from soft and hard skills. So it's a good idea to practice. I will list this link in the chat while you all are engaging in that activity. And we're going to take about 5 minutes to do that. So let's just say 5 o'clock we will resume.
I have a question for you, Shamir.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now with your soft, can you go back to you like you had your list of your soft and your core and your
Yeah.
Okay, so what we put down right here, basically you want us to match with the hard skill as your core competencies?
Well, you're kind of combining a soft and a hard skill.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be an exact merging, but you want to think about the idea of how does my soft skill combine with my hard skills to create a core competency. And you want to think about it within the scope of the type of industry you want to work in. So for you, um, you want to work in an office environment doing administrative work, you want to think about the type of things a person who wants you to do that job might have you doing. So if they have you creating reports or entering in data or things of that nature, you want to think about how your soft and hard skills work together to create core competencies that you can list on a resume. And don't feel bad if you're not able to immediately come up with the best worded core competencies. It certainly takes practice. It took me practice. I'm not sure that I'm even a master at this point, but the only way to kind of get good at it is to kind of just keep doing it until you feel comfortable, and then eventually you get them pretty down to a point where you don't have to really alter them that much. You just kind of decide which ones you want to include on a resume and which not, depending on which job you're applying for.
Okay.
So, Yolanda, do you want to let's give it a
Yeah.
shot here?
I have put down coordinating, like auditing, medical auditing, being able to direct, and then support. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Okay. Um, so when you say directing, what would you be directing?
Let me see, directing other staff.
Okay. All right. In terms of support, what were you thinking there?
For support, like the team, support the team and any higher management. But yeah.
All right. Um, I like medical auditing. That's actually pretty strong there. So that's very on target for how you want to be wording your core competencies.
Yeah.
Chappelle, would you like to chime in and let us know what you got?
Just trying to understand how you want to be done. So this be my first time actually kind of trying to organize
There's no need
how
to
to
feel.
do it correct. So
Okay.
I'm not really. I just went off of what I gave you before on trying to match them together.
All right.
Um, my communication skills that I would consider that would be part of the customer service as like the generic name cashiering. You know how you communicate with people,
Uh-huh.
and then also what the good organizing I just thought about my other job that I used to do, like with the stocking. I used
Uh-huh.
to be IA, which is an inventory analysis at Myers,
Mm-hmm.
where we basically took our inventory out from the back. Make sure you know how you organize your back to the front
Uh-huh.
onto the floor. So basically, organizing skills like that. This is just a practice one because I'm trying to get there.
No, that's fine. Um, that's the only way that we do get good at it is that we sit down with ourselves and sort of think about our soft and hard skills and kind of just start putting them together. I, I I do this personally. When it was time for me to present myself for the role of career advisor, I had to do this very same thing. And trust me, despite having done it many times before, you'll read it and then you'll think about, am I ready to submit my materials, to be taken a look at by HR, and you look and say, I thought I liked the way that sounded for the past year, but somehow I don't like the way that sounds anymore today, and I think I could word that a little bit better. So you kind of sit down with yourself, and I'm going to give you all some resources here and shortly that will help you all with finding words and action verbs and looking at a thesaurus for finding synonyms, words that mean the same thing or mean something similar that will kind of aid you in just getting better at doing this. Janelle, did you want to give us a couple?
Sure. I have management performance, delegation, and conflict resolution.
I like that one. Conflict resolution. Pretty big, quite transferable. Um, it's a good one. Um, Leslie, don't feel pressured. If you can think of one, feel free to let us know. I will jot it down here. If not, we will move forward and you can feel free to kind of take a look at these on your own time and get a better feel for it. Um, I don't know, something I can't tell. Are you all able to s- kind of move the slides back and forth on your own? Or you
No,
simply just have viewing capabilities?
no, it's just
Just
viewing.
viewing.
Okay, all right,
No.
all right, all right. So that's core competencies. I think you all did a pretty good job of kind of piecing them together. Um, that's the gist of it. That's how we kind of want to get better at wording um, our core competencies on paper. And the only way to get good at it is to continue to practice. And there's no reason to feel fearful of the process because it's definitely got to be done. And it's the only way that an employer is able to see who you are and what you can do. I mean, we can, it's nice if they can just kind of just say, hey, I see their education credentials and their work history, and I'll pull from that the idea that they can do this or do that. But truthfully, no one's going to do that for you, and you're going to have to highlight your skills on your own. And core competencies are a great way, and probably one of the best ways to do it. All right, so moving forward, we're going to take a look at a sample job. Um, and this sample job would be the one I gave earlier. I kind of alluded to it. The people you see stocking at night at Walmart. I don't know what it's technically labeled as, but online, if you do a job search and they have openings for it, it is sometimes listed legitimately as a stalker. And quite frankly, while that title may be okay, it doesn't do the person in the role justice in terms of describing all that they may actually do. And if they become attached to the title itself, they may begin to feel as if they don't do certain things or don't have certain skills from performing the job that they actually do have. So if you were to ask that person, what is it that you did as a stalker at Walmart? They might give you responses that are similar to, hey, I unpack boxes and loaded shelves. I help customers who ask questions, and I occasionally check to see if items were in stock. And That's a generic breakdown of what they do. And in a lot of instances, we find ourselves feeling like the job we do is of less importance because it may not be in management, it may not be high paying, or it's not an ownership role or one that people make you feel good about having. So thus, we feel like there's nothing to it. We do it quite easily, so we feel like there's no skill involved, but that is very far from the truth. Just because you've gotten good at doing something does not mean that there is no skill in it, and perhaps multiple skills within that particular job. And it definitely does not mean that it cannot be highlighted on a resume in terms of looking at its transferability if we're talking about moving to a different industry, or if we want to highlight it for someone else in the same industry who has a better opportunity for us. So we're going to take a look at how we can possibly reword that very same job. Reword it. We might label it as an inventory specialist on our resume. Stalker sounds very generic. They'll be able to see the fact that we worked at Walmart anyway, so we don't necessarily have to include that. And then inventory specialist has a more professional feel to it and a better sound in terms of highlighting the fact that we're professionals with experience worth highlighting and worth having, and that someone else would very much feel is valuable to them in their organization. So if we're looking at some of these very same things that the person say they did, instead of saying unpack boxes and loaded shelves, we could say assisted with quality control processes. It's the exact same thing. We have to keep things in order. We have to keep the products from being damaged when they come out of the boxes. We don't want things spilling. We don't want containers that are partially cracked, which could prevent someone from purchasing it. So all that's part of quality control. Taking things back to the storage room, keeping things stored in places where they need to be, because some things can't be stored outside of refrigerated areas. Some things can't be exposed to extreme heat. Um, Things of that nature. All that's part of quality control. And a person who's doing that may not even recognize what they're doing is engaging in quality control, but they have to be able to think along the lines of what do I do and how can I better word it. So a better way of saying I unpack boxes, load shelves, and maybe go get crates out of the back would be to say I assist with quality control processes. Um, Delivered frontline customer service is a better way of saying I help customers who ask questions. Yes, that is what you're doing. If someone walks up and say, "Can you tell me where the spices are located, or when you might be getting some more dishwashing liquid in of this brand?" Sure, you're just helping customers who are asking questions, but you're delivering customer service. And by frontline, it means that you're dealing with the walk-in customers. That's delivering frontline customer service. More of your back-end customer service would be dealing with like suppliers and things of that nature, which the people who work overnight may not necessarily do. So we don't want to be lying about what we say we've done, but we certainly want to make sure we can highlight what we have done. So delivering frontline customer service would be an excellent way that this very same person could say they help customers who ask questions. They're maintaining inventory accuracy. That's what they're doing when they check to see if items are in stock, making sure the numbers are accurate. Or sometimes they may go and see that, hey, it says we have 3 here in the store, but we can't locate them. So they got to update. They either got to try to run down those items or update the inventory system to reflect that which is actually in the store. And all that's part of the maintenance of maintaining of inventory accuracy. So that would be how they would word that there. And other tasks they may have is performing retail recovery. So this is kind of an example of how you can look at a job, very easily make it generic sounding, word it in a way that doesn't sound like there's anything to it, skills that are of no great value. And then someone looking at your resume may think the very same thing. However, when you reword it, they look and they say, oh, okay, hey, this person can do this, they can do that. This matches up to what I want in my company. Even if it's not an exact match, I know they understand the idea of quality control or the idea of inventory accuracy. So even if it's not in a store, if it was at a cable company and we were working, on doing technical support, they know that I can keep track of how many cable boxes that we have out in a given area. They know that I understand the idea of making sure that equipment that is returned does not get damaged. That's all quality control. And even if I was going from being an inventory specialist at Walmart to now working at Comcast, they know I have these skills based on the way I have worded it within my resume, where it's not so easily viewable if you leave it in generic terms. So that's a example of how you do that. Sometimes that process isn't easy. So we want to know, how do we go from the original to the reworded version? And what we need to do is we have to sit down and think about what we actually do on the job. Sit down with ourselves, because it's become so routine to us, it feels kind of like there's not a lot to it. Even in jobs that we do like and that we do value, kind of feels like it's all part of the routine, and you don't really sit down with yourself and think about what is it you actually do. So you sit down and you kind of formulate a list of things that you actually do on the job. You even think of the tasks that you only occasionally do that may not pop up in your day-to-day, but that you've assisted with, and you want to make sure that it's still listed when you're putting that job on a resume. A very a very useful resource you want to use is a thesaurus. A thesaurus can be found. You don't have to have a hard copy, so we're beyond the days where you need a hard copy book, which actually do exist. But you can just go to thesaurus.com, and it has what are called synonyms. Synonyms are, I don't want to insult anyone, but they are just words that are very similar to the word we were going to use or we're thinking about using, and we can get all kind of alternatives. So let's just say we want to look up the word assist. We put it in the box here, take a look, click the search, and then we get a bunch of synonyms for assist. That's how we find different words or different phrases that can give us an idea of different words that might be more fitting or more professional sounding in terms of saying what it is that we were doing on a given job.
Okay, I got a question,
Yep.
if I can. Are you typing something into, because all I'm seeing is the screen that has the slides on. I'm not seeing anything else that you're talking about. Are you typing out another screen?
I did. I'm sorry.
Because I'm not seeing any of that.
That's fine. I'm sorry about that. I thought that was visible to you all. Give me a moment.
Okay.
Jeez. Can you see it now?
No. Okay.
What
there
do
we
you
go.
I can see it, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that may have happened. Did that happen earlier when I was referencing core competencies? That may have been the same case. Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right, but so yeah, you take a word like assist, you'd enter it into the search box, click search, and it would pop up. And it'll do that with almost any word that you enter in. Pretty much, it has the entire English dictionary. I'm sorry about that, you all. It has the entire English dictionary listed there, and just pop the word in, and you get all kind of. Some have more than others. Some have a very limited list. Some have a list so big it can kind of make your head spin. But nonetheless, this is where we can find words that are replacement and alternative words for what we were thinking about using to describe that which we do. So that's a good. It's a very excellent resource that I make use of all the time. I will put the link for it in our chat so that y'all can take a look at it. We'll get back to the presentation. All right. Shit. Okay, can you tell me what you all see?
Yes.
What are you seeing here?
Seeing all of us.
Right.
Okay. This is, I'm sorry, this is my first time making use of this with the ability to bounce back and forth.
There you go.
So you're seeing the PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. In addition to that, there is another resource that I will put up on the screen when you all engage in an activity here in just a moment, that shows action verbs. And action verbs are just ways of describing what you did. So like assisted, managed, um, calculated. These are action verbs. They're how we begin our sort of statement in terms of listing something that we've done on a specific job. Um, and I'll give you, I want to let you all take a look at that site because it gives a pretty good list of several action verbs that you might commonly use um, when you're listing down like your bullet points on a job on a resume, which I'm going to show you here, like here where it says managed, ordering process, maintain, warehouse, assisted. Those are assisted, maintain, and manage. Those are all your action verbs. Um, Sometimes we can think of them quite easily, and then sometimes we're starting to list so many different job experiences, we kind of start to feel like we're either running out or can't think of anything except the same one or two over and over. And it's very good to have a resource like the one I'm going to let you all see, where you can just kind of get new ideas from time to time about your action verbs. Um, what we see here on the slide is just kind of pointing to the idea of listing skills, which we've talked about. These are a lot more technical skills being referenced here. And then the idea of listing down your bullet points for your job. So this is a fake job. Let's just say a tire and auto service. And this person might be tasked with managing the ordering process for things in the tire and auto department, maintaining the warehouse and some of the machines that they have there on site, and insisting in like some of the records management processes. So they may be both in the warehouse and partially within the office, or making use of computer systems where they engage in records management. And all of that would be listed on your resume in your experience section. Skills would be a different section, but I'm just giving you all an idea about how that kind of fits together. A more exhaustive and more descriptive uh, webinar on in terms of resume writing and development will be held May 21st by Julia Hawthorne. She works in Trio Services and actually is the director. And this resume writing and construction is definitely her lane. So that would be good for you all to attend that. Um, what I want you all to do now is kind of take a look at that job rewording that we did just that was done just above. And I want you all to, let's just go with the current job you either have now or the job you have most recently held, and kind of come up with a reworded way of laying it out on paper. If you want to use the same job title because you feel it's professional enough, that's more than fine. But I want you to kind of practice the idea of listing out some of the things you do, um, using action verbs like assisted, delivered, and maintained, and speak to the idea of some of the things, the tasks you perform in the most professional way that you can. I want to give you all a few minutes to practice that. Um, we may not take 7 minutes, but we'll take 5 to 7. And when I notice you all are kind of got it wrapped up, we'll move forward from there. On the screen, I will try to share um, the Action Verb website so you can take a look at that. And I'll still put the links in the chat as well. So you can all can go ahead and fire that engine up on that. And about maybe 5:31, 5 to 5:33, we'll resume and close out. Whoever feels sort of sherry, uh, let's see what we got. Anyone care to share?
You want to make it when you want to make it short, right? Or you try to make your you're describing your job position. You want to kind of make those short, correct?
Well, you definitely want to keep it one line.
Okay.
That's for sure. Um, on a word processor, you may get significantly more space than what you see on the screen here, but you won't have room to just sort of like unload and kind of tell all. You want to definitely try to get it down to, and I don't want to overstep in terms of what will be said in the resume writing webinar, but you certainly, within 3 to 5 bullet points, you'll be able to put it together. Some jobs have more, some have a little less than others, but within that range of 3 to 5 is pretty good. And yeah, you want to keep it at one line.
Okay.
Okay.
So if
Well,
anyone else is
FedEx gave me a little. I used to work at FedEx Ground,
okay, what was the
so
role?
I went from a package handler to quality insurance QA
Which one did you
to
make
work
your list for?
a kind of a mixture.
Okay, okay, we'll just list this package handler, but we'll so what did you do?
Okay, mm, package handler. Okay, let's do QA. QA is a little more exciting.
Okay, what was the role? I'm sorry.
QA, which is quality insurance QA. Sorry. All right. With the quality insurance, I did a little more than package handling, but say like if I got a damaged package,
Hmm.
I had to gather the information off the damaged package and input it into the computer.
So what action verb did you choose to describe it? What you were doing?
I tried to revert it to try to shorten it.
You said what did you yeah, what did you write down?
Um, well, what I had on my resume, type information into the computer on damaged packages. I kind of reworded to sound a little more professional, gathering information on damaged packages.
And this would not be 2 lines, but obviously on a presentation slide, it's we don't have a ton of space here. Anything else you might want to say? We'll just keep it at 2 in the interest of time.
Okay,
Give me one more
and
thing
also
that person would do.
I will rescan damaged labels.
rescan, damage label. So, so you might want to say, I managed the labeling processes,
Okay.
or even more descriptive, product labeling, managed, managed product labeling processes. Sorry,
Okay.
that would be uh, a way you
Because
could
I
word that where
got the name
you.
of the instrument of what we use to print the reprinter mount.
Hmm. So all that managed encompasses all of that. So you don't have to feel like you need to describe every part of that labeling process. When you say managed, it just sort of gives out the idea that, hey, this person was responsible for all things labeling, whether it was damaged or whether it was reprinting of the labeling that needs to go on there now. All of that would be involved in managing the product labeling processes. All right, so pretty good. Your first attempt. That's that's the gist of how you want to go about that. John L, do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
All
So
right.
my last job, I was a dance instructor. So I put implemented dance routines for students. Oversaw two assistants for ballet courses.
Give
I
me a moment.
organized. Oh, sorry.
Implemented dance routines.
Hmm.
All right. What
I
else did we do?
I oversaw assistants for ballet courses.
Oversaw assistance.
Hmm.
What do you mean there?
Like I had two assistants that were working with me.
Oh, assistants.
Hmm.
Okay, so supervisor.
Okay, that's a good one.
What were the assistants doing?
They were teaching ballet, so I was overseeing the ballet classes that they were teaching.
All
And
right.
then, do you
What
need
else?
any more? Um,
You want to shoot one more line that'll work.
okay, I produced the end of the year performance for the students.
Produced performance evaluations. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Um, and that's kind of how we want to think about it. So
Okay.
um, you can just you can get in front of a word processor and just type if that's how you're comfortable. You just need to see it on screen and play with it. Feel free to do that. Um, or you can think about it in your head. Some people need to write things down on a notepad first. There's the process of getting there is all up to you in your personal field, but you do want to make sure when you start drawing blanks, you use your thesaurus. The resource I sent you, there are others. You can just look up action verbs on the web, and there'll be other sites if you don't like the one that or don't necessarily vibe with the one that I sent you. But those are very valuable tools in terms of thinking about new ways that we can um, introduce the idea of what we do, and then we kind of think about how we want to structure I'm going to say sentence uh, in terms of our bullet points in describing what we do. And we want to be concise, so we don't want to try to say everything, but we want to wrap it up in one line if we can, while making sure they understand what it is that we were doing. Um, so um, I forgot how she pronounced her name. I don't the third guest here. I don't want to cut her out.
Yolanda.
Alonda, if you would you like to give it a go here?
Yes.
Okay, give me just a moment,
Okay.
and we'll make sure we get it on screen if we can. I want to give you all a chance to participate since you all have actually shown up. You might as well get the full benefits. So All right. What was the role?
Okay, the role patient account representative.
All right.
Okay.
Give me a couple lines if you want about what you did.
Okay. I had put in assigned, but I don't know, like assigned medical codes for processing of claims. Should I change it to delegated, or is that a okay word to use?
Assigned is
Okay, that's
assigned medical.
okay.
You said
Okay.
assigned medical codes and what else did you say?
For processing of claims.
So for claims processing,
Yes.
it keeps it shorter. Takes that. I don't know the technical term for what of is, but the more concise we can be, the less. Basically, we don't want 2 or 3 words, but we want to keep it as so. Implemented dance routine she had for dance instructors is about as short as we want to have it,
Okay.
but that for whatever reason that 3 lines encompasses what she was doing there. So we want to make sure we say what we need to say, but cut out. I think they're conjunctions, words like of and. Um, so
Okay.
what
So
else did
the other completed appeals that resulted in payments.
okay. Appeals that resulted in payments.
Yeah, because appeals is like for the denied claims, and then you got to appeal them and then
All
resolve
right.
it to get payment.
All right. So about and managed is definitely a common one. Managed appeal processes for claimants. Claimants are the people who are making the claims. So um, that would be another way you could word that. Um,
Well, the other one I did was coordinated and managed new electronic filing system.
coordinated is an excellent action verb. Coordinated and did what?
Let's see,
Co-
let me get my line. And managed new electronic filing systems. That's for the electronic health records.
Okay.
Mhm.
Bump this up a little bit. So this is pretty good. This is actually quite strong. You had a pretty good, a very solid grasp on your action verbs, and that's just kind of how we want to get used to making sure that we're highlighting what we can do and what we have done on paper. That's the
Okay.
only way anyone is going to know what you've done is if you let them know. So we don't want to rely on the title or the role because that may mean a lot to someone, may mean almost nothing, depending on the industry they're in or if they're familiar with it, or it may mean the wrong thing to them because they may think in my world that role doesn't encompass what it actually did for you. So breaking it down in your bullet points is an excellent way for you to kind of get used to that rewording using a thesaurus and kind of highlighting. This is all highlighting of the skills, but you're highlighting what you've done, and the skills are kind of reflected in the various tasks you were performing. And the better you are at using those action verbs and being concise in your wording, the better you are in terms of having someone who's going to be responsible for deciding who gets hired, looking at you and saying, hey, this person can do what we need, and I know they understand or would understand with, with some training, how to come into our organization and be exactly what we're looking for. So that's a good job from you. Probably our best activity in terms of your output.
I have a quick question for you before we leave
Yep.
off of this.
Okay.
I was looking at my resume at one more part of what was part of my position at FedEx.
Uh huh.
Um, so, in other words, like use words that they know of, correct?
Use in what spot do you mean?
Okay, where like on one of my other positions that I was doing also, Well, it's part of the job. I also use it was called swacking, but it's basically just scanning packages to the correct zip code.
Okay, absolutely. Anything where you see an acronym is where they use like initials, like letters, like SWIFT, like
Cause
support workforce training. You want to
right,
dodge those because they may have no idea what it is. So if it's an acronym that is not known in every industry, which is rare that they even would be, you're going to have to spell it out or find the
okay,
best way you can say it in short so that they understand exactly what you mean, because you'd hate for somebody to actually want the skill you have or the ability you have and don't know you have it because you used an acronym or a word that they have no knowledge what it means because it only means something in your company.
right. I mean, it's basically all just like just one word, scanning. Basically, that's what it is.
Okay, so that's how you would
So
so that's how you would
okay,
state it.
okay.
Good question. um so in recap, we've taken a look at understanding strengths and making career choices, um, defining what skills are, looking at the difference between hard and soft skills, the idea of transferable skills, which are the skills that play in any industry, regardless of where you pick the skill up at. We want to we look at the idea of shifting to core competencies instead of just having a big, uh, huge list of soft and hard skills on your resume. We want to learn how to combine soft and hard skills and put together core competencies and listing them. Can you all still see my screen?
Hmm.
Um, I want to make sure that you all got a chance to look at what core competencies looks like on a resume. I don't know if you were seeing it earlier, but I want to be sure. So can you see that now?
Yes, I can see it now. Yes.
Okay, and that link is in the chat. But that's how core competencies are listed, like digital media, persuasive communication, negotiating. And some of these aren't maybe even as good as some of the ones you came up with in terms of um, their wordplay here, but this is how you might list them on a resume, so that you don't take up too much space, but you get the point across, and they can see what you can do very in a very detailed and professional manner, as opposed to just listing out a bunch of skills like good learner, hard worker, things you might see on a resume from someone who's a lot younger and in their first job. That's what they do, just list a big, list of skills, and that's fine for them. But you all are, kind of entering a professional realm or have already entered one, and we want to try to get to this idea of listing in more in core competencies. So we've taken a look at that. We've looked at how we list our jobs on a resume, which you all just engaged in that activity. How to reword our tasks on the job and make sure that we use those action verbs and be concise with our words. And I've given you the resource for action verbs, and then making use of the thesaurus, which you can be found at thesaurus.com. Um, does anybody have any additional questions that they would like for me to answer? And if they're more specific to, um, if you posted a question in the chat, which I noticed, Janelle, you did, I'm going to respond to it to you personally by email. That way, I can give you a more detailed response that won't take up so much room in the chat, and that's more for you personally. Um, but if anyone has any additional questions, um, as I'm rolling through the final few slides,
How
feel free.
long should your resume actually be? How many
Uh,
pages?
Yes, good question.
okay,
That
I
is a good
will.
question.
I'm going to defer to the resume webinar, but 2 pages is fine if you have a reason to venture beyond the first page. If you have limited work experience, you really don't have any business going beyond 1 page. If you have work experience, and I say work experience that matters, meaning if you worked at Dairy Queen and you're applying for a job at Comcast, um, if you have other jobs that show your customer service ability, there's no need to show Dairy Queen. and that's only work history you have. So we want to only list the jobs that matter. And if we're doing that and we need to go to a second page, that's fine. I've never seen anything longer than 2 pages, except for rare instances for certain professional jobs that probably are outside of the realm of anything we would see in Swift. So 1 to 2 pages would be the answer, depending on necessity. Um, if you all need additional assistance in any of these areas that will be covered, that were covered today, or that will be covered in any of the webinars going forward, you can always schedule an appointment with me at the Swift bookings page. Let me just put the link in the chat. I don't know if there was an issue with doing this when we were having technical difficulties last week, but just so you all have it, that's how you can access it. That's how you can set up an appointment with me. You just kind of pick your time out. It'll show you the available time, so you don't have to worry about picking a time and then it not being available. It won't let you select it unless it's available. Um, I
Oh,
will not.
isn't that the part I had problems with when I thought you was gonna call me or something or email me or
It,
whatever it was?
it may have been, um, and I have noticed that a few students have had some hangups there. So that's why I wanted to make sure for you all while you're here, you have that information so that there's no roadblock to getting in contact with me. Um, I also wanted to let you all know that currently, I'll post these as well. There are 2 new pages that were put together for Swift that are online. You know, there's the parkland.edu/Swift, which is basically kind of like an informational page which shows some of Swift's offerings, and was just trying to introduce the program to the students. But there's 2 additional pages. One has some advising related info and some uh, companies that are currently hiring in different industries that are Swift related. I took the time to put some of that together for you all, and it will be getting constantly updated so you don't run across something stale, like meaning the company was hiring, but now they're not anymore. So all that will be available on the advising page. And then there's a career ready page that you all can access as well, which will enable you all to see good career resources like videos, informational websites that will help you with doing things like getting ready for interviews, all of the things that are encompassed in the webinars, because you don't want to just be limited to having access to one video or one sort of interactive webinar with a host. You want to be able to access resources when you need them and sometimes when you're ready, because you don't want anybody to tell you when it's time to get ready to get prepared. We want the ability to decide that on our own. So I have a lot of resources listed on that site for you all to make use of that would be very good in all of these areas. Um, and I'll probably send out some reminder emails that have all the links put together in one spot for those that either didn't participate or may never see this recording, or if the recording takes a while to be posted, I'll probably send all these links out and let you know what each link was to, etc., in an email. Um, Up next week, you'll have the job search strategies, which will be hosted by Brennan Hightower. Her webinar will also be making use of Microsoft Teams. The other 2 that follow, I believe they're going to use Zoom. So I'll make sure I get you all the information if you want to attend on how to access those. But in terms of next week's webinar, it'll be accessed the same way as this one was. And we'll learn a lot from the hangups we experienced today, try to assist people in getting connected more easily. That's coming up next week, Thursday.
Is it the same time?
I don't
Sorry.
believe so. Her time was listed on the form. I can take a look though right now, and that way we won't lose it all. we don't have to guess. And she'll be sending out the a reminder, but I'll take a look for you right now. Okay, that's at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And Brennan is very adept in terms of job search strategies, different approaches where you might want to go, which is very important because, quite frankly, we want to know who has possible opportunities for us when this is all said and done. Um, we want to be ready to take advantage of it when we do find what's available, but for certain, we definitely have to know what's out there because that's a big hang up for a lot of people, just kind of not knowing where to go to see what's available and kind of starting to get that feeling like maybe there's not a lot of jobs there when in actuality there may be a lot we just don't know about. So that's kind of all I had for you all today.